time for you to know and for us to start our show. Have a drink and take a seat here on Brewsic and Boozies.
Everyone.
Hey.
I'm a hype man. That's about as hyped as I get. Welcome to this week's episode of Brewsic and Boozies. As usual, I'm Becky, and this over here is Chris. Say hi, Chris.
Hello. Hi.
Do you want to tell them what movie we're watching this week? Well, what movie we're talking about, at least?
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
Look out, it's Spider Pig. No. Spider-Man.
Yes. Spider-Man. The 2002 Sam Raimi
I was
Spider-Man.
going to say which one. There's so many now.
There are so many to pick from.
We decided to go back to the first, version of the film.
Yes,
And
this was your pick.
This was my pick, and I think it was an appropriate pick because I feel like it's been almost 20 years since the film came out. It's coming up to its 20th anniversary, I think. Or is it 19th? Hold on. I have it right here.
2002.
And not yet 20. Coming up soon. 19 would be this year coming up. So 2002 release. And I was just I had been dying to see this movie ever since I saw a poster on it at the movie theater. And I thought that was I thought it was going to be an animated movie for some reason. I didn't process the photo of the poster on the wall at the movie theater. I was so convinced that was some kind of, I'm like, is that a real movie coming out? Spider-Man? I'm like, they made one? No. And I was shocked standing there, like seeing him on the poster. It's the one with him, not the one on the DVD here. It's on the other disc cover, but it's like him going up the side of the wall. That's like the main movie poster. So yeah, I was just like, wow, they're going for it. And then that first trailer dropped and my jaw dropped and I didn't know what to feel. My spidey sense was tingling. Everything was tingling. So happy that they made one. So that's kind of my little introduction as the movie, getting to hear about it, know about it, and going to eventually see it in the theaters. And so, what was your first experience knowing and seeing, or at least wanting to go see the movie?
I honestly don't remember.
Okay.
I remember seeing it. I remember Spider-Man, growing up, Spider-Man was my favorite superhero. And then I grew up and now I really love Batman, but I loved Spider-Man. And I don't remember. I remember the cartoon when we were kids.
Yes.
It's not Spider-Man, the animated series. The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man? Is that what it's called? No.
I think it was called Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I think you're right. Yeah.
I mean, that show. Thank you. That show was great.
Yeah.
Still watchable. I love the characters in that show more than this movie. I remember being
fair.
like a kid loving the movie, but also being slightly disappointed that the characters were different from those characters in that show.
You and I are so similar. That was exactly my emotions throughout this movie, was saying how much I enjoyed that cartoon and how little that cartoon was in this movie. Yes. Except for the looking of certain characters. And that's just because that's how they look in the comics and everything else.
Yeah.
But not knowing anything really about like this movie, except that was all the sources I had to draw Spider-Man from was from the TV show, the cartoon one on Fox Kids. So I had a friend, my brother's friend was kind of an artist, and he drew Spider-Man a lot when I was little. And I just remember him, he was like really, for his age, like he could draw pretty well. And I remember him drawing a picture of Spider-Man, and it blew my mind because I'd never seen anybody draw like people like that. Maybe a Ninja Turtle my friend drew, but it was like, I'm like, that's such a cool looking concept art. You know what I mean? Like to draw like a comic book style version of anybody. He could do that. And I just was like, I'm like, oh man, I would love to just like draw just like him, our friend. And like, so that was kind of like, it kind of opened my eyes to like the art world of comic books. And whenever I saw Spider-Man in just like comics or anywhere, I just would like, I loved how he looked. So to see him on the big screen was really exciting to me for that reason too.
Yeah. I remember in high school, I had this Spider-Man like vintage looking tee with like the first issue comic book art on it. And I would like wear that thing. Like I wore it until it like basically disintegrated. Like it was worn out. And I remember I thought I had like so much fashion sense. I wore this like Robert Plant vest over it. It was like a denim vest, but it was like in the style of like,
so stylish.
I don't know, like a Sergeant Pepper's looking like vest, but it was denim. And I felt like I was Robert Plant. So I would wear it over that t-shirt. And I had this thing where I would wear board shorts all the time. So I remember wearing it with like board shorts because I thought I was cool. And that was
Still
my
are
outfit.
cool, but yes, I know what you're saying.
And no fashion sense whatsoever.
We
but
were
I remember
all
wearing that
very
t-shirt.
questionable in our fashion choices, I'm sure, at that age.
Yes.
So
and before this movie had come out, the only other like besides like the Batman and Robin movies and all that, the only other real superhero movie, comic book movie that we kind of had was like X-Men, I think, had just come out.
X-Men was the first of the Fox ones.
And
Batman,
maybe Daredevil
the
came out
Batman movies
before
had just kind of wrapped up, and Marvel was finally putting out their own. I think we got to a point where special effects were getting to the point where we could actually do those movies and make them look cool. Whereas like Batman is just a dude that just, you know, jumps and fights, and that's really all you have to worry about. Maybe just some of the bigger action components are more computer related, but that's the kind of push of computer imagery into a lot of these Marvel movies to make them fantasize all those cool, you know, super abilities, wherever you want to call it, you know, to make them look believable and not everything else kind of didn't work yet for that.
Yeah, no, that's very true. That's a good point. I didn't think of that. Like,
although
it
would kind of interest me what they would have been or looked like if they try to make movies of that during that era. You know, I wonder like what does Spider-Man movie look like in the 80s or 70s if they try to do it? Be interesting.
It would have to be like
90s.
really hard cuts, like Spider-Man on the building.
Yeah, a lot of green screen, which
floor.
this movie has.
Yeah, and a lot of green screen.
But a lot more green screen and a lot more I don't know.
But this movie, so I mean, you can tell when like Tobey Maguire is not doing the stunts and it's CG, but like William Defoe did a decent portion, I think, of his stunts, other than like the stuff that they had like CG of him. So like a lot of the action
I wanted to
is
talk
that,
about
cool.
that. Yeah, I wanted to talk about just the fact that I didn't realize how much of this movie was actually real, if that makes sense. Like it's actually either the actor putting themselves up, you know, into, you know, especially Toby, how much he really did for this movie himself physically, you know, and then it really just doesn't have. It didn't. When I first saw it, I didn't think a lot of the actors did anything, and then I found out, like you did, a lot of them are doing a lot of this stuff. So it's really great to see that these actors put a lot of themselves into this movie. I
think Sam Raimi has.
They had to.
Sam Raimi for a lot of that because that's his. You know, he developed as a filmmaker doing like scrappy filmmaking where everything was practical effects and everything was real. So of course you have a bigger budget and like you have to use CGI, but you're going to use as much. And
he's very He's very practical, like his other movies. Had you seen his movies before this and knowing about him?
I mean, I knew his movies, but I didn't see The Evil Dead until I was older.
I only saw him a few years ago, so that's a good that's good to know, because a lot of his, I'm sure there's Rami fans who saw the Spider-Man movie thinking, what is he going to do with Spider-Man with that tone of his, and how does it transfer over? So, yeah, but I think he did a good job. You have to admit, it's the first time for this kind of story.
Yeah, I think I was going to bring this up at some point, but I think somewhere around the end, like the middle of the second movie making it, he got lost in sort of big budget filmmaking world and became sort of a
diva
a-hole and a diva, and
a-hole.
Became difficult to work with, became a perfectionist, and that's kind of sad, but I think coming from where he came from, he just like couldn't hang.
Yeah. And it's funny to me because when you see him in interviews, I get this vibe that he's a very calm, quiet dude. Just kind of like, yeah, so we wanted to make this Spider-Man like look really cool. I'm a big fan of the comic books when I was younger. I don't know. He has a lisp in my mind. Maybe he does a little. I don't know. But like a bad impression. I have to get one in here. So I just remember seeing him like in I don't know, maybe some behind the scenes thing on a TV spot or something. They've had him on, and I'm just thinking like, that guy who made the movie, all right. He kind of looks like an old version of Toby. Makes sense. So yeah, let's talk about Toby. How was your first impressions of Toby as Spider-Man, or Peter Parker rather, or both? He is playing both of them.
As a kid, I liked him. But as an adult, I look at him and I'm like, oh my God, you're I don't know, be a little more assertive.
Also,
I guess there's no character development if he already starts in that place.
Just as I'm saying, him portraying the character in this movie, I mean, how did it connect with you?
Like his portrayal, I liked it when
I know a lot of people
I thought he did a good job, and I don't like it now.
He did a good job. Right, he did the job. Now, this is a little behind the scenes trivia thing. Did you know he was not originally casted? Well, I'm saying he was not the runner-up for Spider-Man.
So he wasn't even the runner-up.
Or he wasn't the runner-up. Yeah. Or who was supposed to be, who was almost promised the role. I think I got to that close, or at least they thought they were going to get the role, and they did not. I'm pretty sure.
Leonardo DiCaprio, because I feel like I heard.
No, he might have been in that Bob in talks, but no, it was the guy who was actually in the movie, Mr. James Franco.
Oh.
He, I think, was on several callbacks. I mean, take this with a good percentage of it being accurate, because I believe what I remember. I'm going kind of on the cusp here, but I'm pretty sure he had several callbacks, and he was like ready to go as him. But they weren't sure with him, and they still, I think originally they still wanted Toby, but they weren't sure if he wanted to do it, and they were waiting on him. Maybe, I think that's the story. Could be wrong. Could be maybe they're just like, maybe they didn't love what James Franco was doing, or maybe they did. I don't know. But it was those two were definitely both, top picks, and it ended up like, I think James Franco thought he even got it as Spider-Man, and then no, it ended up going to Toby, and that's why he was like, all right, but they're like, hey, but you know what, we got him as, we're thinking about you as Harry, and I think that's how they got him as Harry. I think that's their story with that. Yeah,
what a different movie would have been with
it's
him.
Hollywood. You got to just like, I don't know the stories behind Hollywood. It's all crazy and nonsensical, but I think that's at least something interesting about how all this came to be.
I met James Franco once.
Oh yeah, how was he?
Yeah,
quiet.
I don't know. He didn't say much. He laughed at my joke, and that was it.
Don't.
He probably was.
Although
he probably wasn't, though, because it was after I saw him in Of Mice and Men on Broadway.
Oh, so you had like a meet and greet like after?
Yeah, he was at the stage
he was
door.
Waited outside to say hi to him.
Yeah, which is that's a heavy show. So like, I'm gonna imagine he wasn't stoned.
I'm sure he still remembers you. Like Rebecca, but he does it in the Tommy Wiseau voice. He's just like, "You're tearing me apart, Rebecca."
That's exactly how I picture it in my dreams.
Anyways, but yeah, back to Spider-Man. I know I'm digressing here because it's just fun. By the way, what are you drinking? We never said.
I know we didn't talk about what we were drinking.
We forgot to.
I have the Newburgh Brewery Gigaboss IPA, double IPA. It's really
Gigaboss.
good.
Is that so?
And-
That's a Back to the Future beer, correct?
It's Gigaboss, not Gigawatt.
Right, but yeah, my point is that but it's Back to the Future related.
I think it's more of just a play off of like the actual, because there's like little robots on the side. I think it's just more
Well, that's
about
Johnny Five, or at least the head is. But is that a clock tower on it on the side?
No, it's a hop.
Wait. I'm sorry. Move your hand behind Giga. Keep turning. That's not the clock tower right there. That big building.
No, that's Newburgh.
Okay, you can see how I got there then.
Yeah, but Newburgh is right here
my
in
mistake.
New York. It's a good brewery. Stop by.
I gotcha.
And this is a good IPA. It's like very fruity and not too bitter. So
Ooh, sounds good.
Yeah.
I am now
you
drinking
got?
my coffee, which is I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm drinking tonight. This is New England's hazelnut creme. It's delicious. I drink it every day. And inside of it, I have a little splash of Evan Williams. So it's a little
What
tasty.
is that?
It's bourbon.
Oh,
It's delicious. But yeah, it's not a lot. It's just, it's tasty though. So you have the brew, I have the booze.
magic.
That's how I think about it. It's perfect.
best of both worlds, baby.
Yep.
Best of both worlds.
How we get everything makes sense on the show.
We make sense now. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah. So swinging right along.
You gotta shoot out your web.
Yes.
That was pretty good.
Oh,
sound effect. I'm proud of
before.
myself.
So before. I mean, I have a lot of things I like to discuss, so I don't want to ramble on too much. I made sure that I wanted to get to them, but I do have a lot of dislikes, by the way, about this movie. So don't think I don't love it or don't dislike it, or just love it entirely. Like I love everything about it. That's not even close. I remember being slightly disappointed seeing it and not thinking I hated it. I remember liking it. I remember getting rave reviews on TV and in the papers and things like that. Just like 4 stars, Spider-Man. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, like, go see this movie. And I'm like, okay, I saw it. I liked it. I thought it was fun. It was definitely everything I probably wanted out of a Spider-Man movie. That like the things that you wanted to see were there, but like it almost felt like I had no context unless you knew something comic book related. My parents went to go see this with us and they loved it. Why? Because it's fun and it was funny. I think the average viewer saying fun action, fun humor, and fun characters. There's a movie. You don't really need
all
much
true.
more than
All
that.
true things, though.
But like I said, as a longtime fan and having that connection with the cartoon, and I have a different connection with the cartoon than say a bunch of my family and friends would maybe have with it, more knowledgeable about it, and kind of actually watch the show. I watched it if it was on, which was very rare. I remember it being part 75 if I caught like 20 episodes before that. And I'm like, I don't know where they are in the story now. There's like so many to be continued. Yeah. So I felt always lost when I tuned in, but I'm like, I had it's Spider-Man. I got to watch it. And I couldn't wait to see like Venom and all those characters. They were so cool. But this movie, I just remember seeing him upside down in the trailer and just doing those little, and I was just like, yes, that sold me. Although it would have been cool to just see that when it happened in the movie and not being spoiled of that in the trailer. But there's a lot of things in this trailer that definitely like you saw most of and once you saw the movie. Yeah, but I think I read a rotten. It made sense. Yeah,
I read a Rotten Tomatoes a rotten review of this movie, and it was like I could have just watched the trailer and not watched the movie, and I was like, ooh.
I don't think they revealed too much because there is a lot, and I don't know, maybe because I was younger at the time that I didn't care. I'm like, that looks really cool. That looks really cool. But I need to see how it plays out in the movie. Whereas there's movies like Captain America trailer I saw several times, and I could tell you I saw that whole movie already before it came out. Almost the entire movie. I was like, wow, I saw this whole movie. There was like very little bit that I didn't see in that trailer. Almost nothing.
Well, if you know
There's
the
just
story of
longer
Captain
versions
America,
of those scenes.
if you know the story of Captain America, they hit all the main points of what you need to know. So there's really no point of seeing it either.
It's very kind of it's not a very big range character, so the story was just what it was. That's all it is, super soldier fight the Nazis. But my dislikes, so I wanted, do you have anything you wanted to talk about before I get into that? Because I really want to tell you some of my dislikes. And I also have that cameo for you that you've asked me about that I just saw in this movie for the first time. And I probably knew about it, but I just I finally know who that is now. It makes sense.
I want to talk about a couple scenes, but let's talk about dislikes first, and then we can talk about certain scenes that
I just didn't want to get off out to me. Course before I could go into all my real big gripes because I got a couple.
No, let's talk gripes, and then we'll bring it back home with some talking about things we actually enjoy.
All right, I'll let you go first. Go ahead.
So dislikes about this movie. One, I hate the writing.
Okay, explain, because that's interesting.
There are great scenes and great moments, great powerful quotes, whatever. But there is just some scenes between everyone thinks they're cute between him and Mary Jane, but I'm like, they say 4 words. And they keep the scene at 4 words. And I'm like, can we say a little bit more here? And I can't think of the scene that I have stuck in my head right now and what they say, but I don't know. I was like, oh, I don't like that.
It seems a little older writing styled, in like early 90s writing style, which was his way in like 80s, 90s style of boy and girl. So I don't know. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think that you're right. It's not the best. It is kind of poor. For that reason, there's not a lot of depth there. It's kind of this weird exchange between him and her. Like, how long have they known each other? They talk like they've never met before, and then they're like, "But I live next door to you every day." I was like,
it's like they could have built that relationship up a little bit more in dialogue or something.
He pretended like he never spoke to her until like that day, and I'm like, "You live next door to each other, and you talk once in a while." I mean, I have that though with 2 neighbors, so I get it. When you see them, you may talk a little bit. Sometimes you don't. So I get it. But it almost seemed like he really had no idea who she was. And I'm like, maybe that's how it was. But that's what I think that works in this movie is the fact that, it's kind of poor, but like, sometimes that's how life is. It is sometimes that cheesy and terrible. So,
I guess so.
As an interesting entertainment point, not great. As a point of it working, it's questionable.
Yeah, definitely questionable. I also don't like the fact that he kills someone and they just brush right over it.
Did he though?
That guy fell out of like
that, and I'm like, you can argue that. Did he kill him? He broke his arm, and then the guy has poor balance, fell out a window, which is really funny, anyways. By the way, how he falls, he just didn't catch him; he just let him fall. So, did he kill him? I don't know. He let him fall because that guy got what he deserved. So
I see your argument.
I wonder what the courts would say is my point.
Yeah, but it goes against the whole with great power comes great responsibility, right? Like, he deserved to die, that guy. But should you, having the power to be able to kick this guy's butt and kill him, should you not save him at the end of the day?
I don't think, but I didn't think that. I know he has spidey sense, but did he see that coming anyways? Like, he probably could have saved him, but he kind of does like this flinch, like, oh, and then he just like, maybe he was just so like in shock of what was going on that the fact that was his uncle's killer, he was kind of just like, I'm going to just break your arm and walk away. Cause that's the most you deserve. You don't deserve to die. But then this guy was just such a bad balance. And there just happened to be a pole there because it's Hollywood and we love to see guys fall out of windows. That's really the reason. It's just like, oh, that's the bad guy. He deserves to fall and die,
Yeah, I guess. All right, I see your argument, but
it's okay. They had the place completely surrounded and still he got away. Because somehow he's a ninja and he's Batman and he can just disappear at the, drop of a pin or hat, whatever the expressions. I don't know.
Okay, one more dislike so that I have.
So okay,
I have one more.
One more. So we got 2 so far. Third strike, and then
I don't like what they did with Mary Jane's character. I missed that fiery.
And let's get more. Let's get more.
Fiery, like sex icon from the TV show, from the comic books. I don't know what they did. They made her like a domestic violence survivor, and like, which is, I guess, fine, but like, I don't think it added anything to her character at all.
I just think that I saw this. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I get what you're saying. It's not. I think it's like the point is that you could be this beautiful person, but underneath is just this horrible life that they have underneath all that, you know. And you think their life is perfect because they look so perfect, but yet she's always, you know, trying to get away from her family life, and that's just her mask. She's Spider-Man. She's like, I have to wear this mask because I have nobody looking out for me or saving me. I have to look out for me, and this is how I do it. That's how I look at it. Like, and she's like, I got to have this big buff boyfriend to make me look cool, or, you know, to make me feel popular. And yet I don't know how popular she is. We don't really go. You're right. It's very flat where she is in this movie. But for Peter and her, he thinks she's this popular girl. Mm-hmm. He knows their home circumstance, but he still thinks she's perfect on every level because how she looks and how, you know, how he just, you know, has a crush on her. So he wants to be her superhero.
I mean, yeah, I see why they did it, and that's a great argument. Yeah. But I don't know. I loved that character in the TV show.
Very different. Yeah, she's great.
Like she says "tiger" to him at one point, and it just doesn't have that like power that when she says it.
Yeah.
In television.
But channel. I remember. So that's great. You said that. So that's kind of my gripe. And not a gripe. I was just like, okay. So I just seen Pleasantville with Toby. You right there?
A little dribble.
Whoopsie. Something just fell here too. Oh, my light just fell.
Oh no.
Hang on. We're having a lot of technical difficulties.
Lights are falling.
Okay. Try not to move too much. So I just seen Pleasantville, and Toby was in that, and he's very much like Toby in that movie as he is in this movie. So I remember seeing a trailer. I'm like, that looks like the guy from Pleasantville. That's all I knew him in. And I'm like, oh, it is him. I'm like, he's Spider-Man? I couldn't make that connection. I remember Spider-Man looking like the guy from the cartoon, and I'm like, I guess that works. Like I thought like that guy, you know, it's a cartoon, so everything's kind of buff. Everyone's huge in that cartoon.
Yeah,
for some reason, even Spider-Man. He's pretty bulk in that movie, in that show. But even still, like, I just remember him being kind of like this photographer, being older already a little bit in that show. I think he was like in college, maybe.
In the TV show?
Yeah, he wasn't in high school.
At one point,
I feel like he was already
college,
working. Like he was working for the Daily Bugle, and
maybe he was a little bit older.
Person. Yeah. So I mean, it works because he does go and becomes college age in this movie. He you know, he graduates high school, so I guess that's the appropriate age. But still, I for some reason he seemed a lot older, like 30s, anyways, in my mind. And I'm sure Toby's actually 30 in this movie, anyways, playing a 17-year-old. But it's like I couldn't picture him as Spider-Man. I could picture him as Peter a little bit, and him kind of like, you know, being into Mary Jane as a young kind of dweeby guy. That he does well, and that's kind of how it's written for him. But then him as Spider-Man, he starts talking as Spider-Man, and he makes all these kind of witty comments, and I was like, ew, you know, I didn't buy his they're funny, and I love what he says. Maybe it works for me now because I've seen it many times, but like in the wrestling to Bonesaw, he says Bonesaw is ready. He says
man Randy Savage.
Yeah, he's the best in this. Oh, my legs. Oh, I can't feel my legs. That's such a good point. But he goes like, that's a cute outfit. Did your husband give it to you? Like, I was just like, that's really funny, but like
cringy homophobic
says anything to anybody. So like I had this weird, like, he's so uncertain of himself. He's so quiet and so shy to talk to Mary Jane, but he still has some, guts to like, defend himself and attack Flash now that he's had these kind of powers for like, I don't know, an hour. And it's like, well, that's his spider instinct. I don't know.
He's got the rage
go all
of
day
the
trying
spider.
to figure out what this was about. So that's all right. So that was my big gripe. I felt like his transformation to Peter to Spider-Man, it works for this movie, but not how I envision Spider-Man to be. So I have friends who really hate this movie because he's not Spider-Man. He doesn't act like Spider-Man's always kind of witty, and he's like kind of like fast talker, and he's just like, I'm better than you. He has an ego. And I felt like they try to do that in some of these lines, but they just don't land home. Like, what does he say to Goblin? He's just like, he goes like, it's
when
you,
he calls
that's
him Gobby.
Gobby. Yeah,
Gobby.
Like, settle down, tough guy. It's just like, what?
I always hear the TV show. I hear whoever, I don't know the voice actor who played Spider-Man on the show, but
trivia, who is that guy? Do you want to know? I love playing this game with you.
Does this have to do with the voice actor?
Actor who voices Spider-Man on the cartoon show?
Oh, I don't know.
He's from a movie, and he's not a big actor, but he was an actor that portrayed another famous character. I don't know actually how to explain this. So put it this way. He was imitating another actor in this movie because of what the movie was. And it was based on a TV show. I'll give you that hint. I know that's a hard one. How I even got there.
Okay, I have no idea. I'm not even gonna try.
Okay, so the Brady Bunch movie. Have you ever seen that movie?
When I was like a kid.
Okay, the guy who plays Greg Brady in that movie, so the oldest son, is the voice of Spider-Man. I forget his name, but he I don't know. I forget what his name is, but he's the voice of Spider-Man. I remember seeing Brady Bunch. I'm like, I know that guy's voice. And then sure enough, that's how I know him. I'm like, Spider-Man. Yeah, he plays him. But so I've always had that kind of voice kind of stuck in my head, knowing that's Spider-Man to me. And it's hard to get that out of your mind. And then seeing Toby going like, settle down, tough guy.
Is this like Gentile voice?
So yeah. Okay, so so back to what I was saying, my biggest gripe too. So that's two of them. But this also, how did nobody have any sense that he was Spider-Man? The fact that they just went to a museum with all these spiders.
Museum.
And then the guy who's doing flips and doing superhuman speed and fighting Flash Thompson in the middle of this hallway fight does like 7 flips in a row. And everyone's just like, oh, he's just really good at like karate or something. It's just like, does anyone question, oh, you're a freak? It's like,
how could you do all this?
No one asked him like, are you okay? Like, how did you do that? It's just like, James Franco, Peter, that was incredible. Like, I feel like Harry should have been on the Brady Bunch with that line. Jan, Marsha, Peter, what are you doing? Flips?
Flips?
So I don't know. It was just like, that part made me so angry. Because I'm just like, can they all tell this guy's got something up with him? Yeah, so that just bothered me. And just like the montage was it's hysterical. I love the montage because the people they interview are hysterical.
Oh, it's
and
so funny.
We always quote the one guy, he stinks and I don't like him.
That's a good one.
Love that guy. And then just like the people in New York, that's how they are. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
But like, there's a scene with Toby just like on screen. He's like, just his mask off, like, and then he puts it back on and he goes to save the day. It was a little cheesy, I know, but I wanted that to be cool because I saw those kind of fight scenes in the trailer and I'm thinking like, oh, that has to do with a storyline or this has to do with something bigger. And it's like, it's 1 second of him moving and jumping and that's it. It has no story, has no context except that it was made for a montage, just him fighting crime, which it works. I'm not saying it doesn't. It's just not what I wanted. I wanted to see all of him fighting. I wanted to see like him on 7 different, like, what do you call like cases or, 7 different cutting down the bad guy storylines. So anyways, we got the movie. It's there. All right. So those are most of the things I don't like about the movie. And, it's like, I've come to grips with living with it because there's so much I really do love about this movie, and I mean love it. I love it. It changed my life. This movie in a lot of ways. So, all right. So I'm gonna put that aside. And should we go into what you love about the movie, or you want to just talk about some of the scenes? I guess want to just transition to that for you.
What I love about the movie, and I mean, I'm sure you're going to love these things too, but one important thing, because we like music here, is we can't brush by the fact that Danny Elfman did the score of this. And it's sad that the first Danny Elfman talk we're doing is to Spider-Man, but
are we listening, people? This is the Brewsic part about the movie. That's why you have the brew, so I should let you do the Brewsic.
The Brewsic. Well, you're the musician and I am not.
The irony is that I'm the musician. But no, it's good. So tell us what it is that's so special about the music in this movie.
Danny Elfman is like the superhero guy. He's just so good at like looking at a hero and like creating the themes, and like the Spider-Man theme in this movie is very similar to the Batman theme to me. I don't know. You're the musician.
So,
but when I hear it, I'm like, that's the same thing, but different at the same time. Do you know why? Because I don't.
No, but I really did not realize this was Danny Elfman for a long time.
Same.
I did not know it was his music. I'm like, it kind of sounds like a ripoff of Danny Elfman. I felt like Danny Elfman ripped off himself in this movie. And that's not an insult or disrespectful to his music at all. I know people who praise this music over almost everything he's done.
I think a good composer when their music doesn't distract from the movie. So you don't listen to the music in this movie and go, "Oh, Danny Elfman did this." You're just like watching the scene and you hear the music and you're not like, there he is again.
What was a little strange to me, a little different for this movie, is that they did this weird opening credits that's very long. And there's usually like some kind of 2 minute, 3 minute, maybe shorter than that, of story of introduction of something. But they did this kind of, narration of Peter in the beginning. That's a little strange. It works because it only is there in the beginning, and then at the very end, it kind of closes out with him narrating,
like a comic booky thing,
which I like.
They'll start with like a narration panel.
Is this going to be like throughout the whole movie? I was kind of confused what the point of that was, but no, it makes sense. It's like, hey, this is me, blah blah blah, and then it goes into the movie. But it was so funny. We got this kind of like long score opening that I can't remember the last time I saw anything like that. It's a little unique. It's also a little like not boring. I was just like, okay, this is cool. I like what they're trying to show. I'm like, it's getting me hyped up, seeing all these cool webbing effects. I mean, maybe they're just showing off they can do these cool effects. But a little reminiscent of Batman. Yeah, because remember Batman had that cool opening as well. But like, oh man, I love Batman's score. His score for Batman is just iconic, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I'll listen to that once in a while just for a good like just to just kind of listen to his music. He really has some magic in that
I think there's magic in this score though too, because
there is.
To me, the opening main title, which I wanted to talk about a little bit, because to me, when you have a long title like that and you touch on each theme in a show, it reminds me of musical theater, because it always opens like that and you get a little bit of each song, a little bit of each theme. It really just, it's just like a good glimpse of everything. It's like a good overview of everything, a good intro. And
and I think that was
like
what
the
they
character
were going for, and they did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were trying to give you a tone of the movie already before you actually saw anything.
It brings, I think that's what makes Toby Maguire's character a little bit better in the movie, is like the song, the soundtrack and the theme that goes along with him being Spider-Man and him being Peter really help you choke down his character a little bit more.
I can't sing this song back to anybody though. There's nothing catchy in my mind about the music. Yes and no. Like if you were to say sing the Batman theme song and sing the Spider-Man theme song, I can't do it. I can sing the Batman theme song. I can't sing the Spider-Man one. Maybe like parts of it. It's harder to do.
No, wait. I mean, it's similar to what I just did, but not exactly those.
Yeah, but that little part, like Batman is like the catchiest thing in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like I can't undo that for my mind. Anyways, I mean, like maybe it is different for everybody. I don't know. I just feel like that has a little bit more of a hook to it than some of the other songs of it, the other music selections of his. So, but no, it's very well orchestrated. And
I think the difference
some
though
of the
between
horns are great.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. His use of like horns in the score is very different to the Batman soundtrack, obviously.
And
but he uses horns in different ways for different characters, which is interesting too. An interesting play.
Yeah, and I didn't think about this, and you brought it up actually in our notes, and I was like, "Oh, you're right." I no wonder why. Like, I kind of don't remember it being him or having a connection to his music. His use of electric guitar is in this movie.
Yes,
and it's a good segue to what I want to talk about after that. So go ahead.
I don't know any Danny Elfman score. I mean, I love Oingo Boingo, love Oingo Boingo. I was just listening to Oingo Boingo as I was working today, but I don't know any other Danny Elfman music scores that use an electric guitar.
I don't think he did Pee Wee Herman. There might be something in there. I don't think so though. And no, it's all orchestration. So no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time we put it in there, and it's the time too, and it's the type of movie it is.
Yeah,
I'm sure had like, hey, let's make this a little edgier for a younger crowd, and since we're dealing with a teenager and this style comic book, it's a little bit appropriate.
Yeah. And did you apparently I didn't know this until I looked it up, but he apparently for percussion in this, he did all the percussion himself, I think he said, which I don't know if that's true, but he said that and I was like, okay. But he said he was using a trash can at one point, and I was like, where? Because I don't know where that is.
I don't know. There's some cool like almost like
maybe that's
for the crawling and like kind of like the fighting in the alleyway. I want to say maybe there's some trash can use there. I don't know where it is. I feel like there's some interesting uses of mallets and some of the other percussion instruments in this score that kind of stands out to me here and there, and it's like kind of has that like kind of creepy crawly kind of sound to it. I
think that's what makes him so great too, is like he has his very own style, like very distinctive Danny Elfman style, but he does listen to the needs and the wants. It's not all Tim Burton needs and wants. Like he has done music scores for other movies, and like he listens to the needs and wants of those directors. Like him and Sam Raimi had a very good relationship, and they worked very closely on this score. So like he listens to the directors and like what they want the movie to sound like, and he is very hands-on with the orchestration and when they're doing the actual music.
Yeah, and that's the job of a composer for a movie, is you do what the director tells you to do, no matter what you produce or what you compose. You're ultimately a puppet. You're doing what their envision is for the movie and what they're hearing and what they're can you go more of this, go more of that. So he's just a great composer that he's able to kind of capture whatever it is that him and what the audience is hopefully looking for in the movie. It's hard. It's very hard. So I mean, he's not to get too much into Danny Elfman, but I want to say some of the other movies hopefully will do with his other scores that are really iconic. Not Batman, we talked about Batman, but the other movies as well. But I've seen some videos of him like just in his studio, and he's composing on his on his computer, and it's just so encouraging, because I feel like it just shows you how the creative process works and how he operates. It's very inspiring. And like he's just extremely talented, and he's got a little craziness in him. So I think that helps any creative artist to just kind of get their engine moving. But it also, like I said, like it's really fun to watch them and see like how they're gonna get they're creating magical scores in like seconds because they're just they know what they're doing. So I can only imagine, hopefully that this process was just more of a, yeah, I'm gonna do what I do, but you have to trust me, and then also, but like, I'm gonna give you what you want. It's probably very hard to work together like that.
One thing I love that he did in the score too, and he uses like a choir a lot in his
That's
soundtracks.
that was what I was going to just say. I was like,
I love
choir. That's
like
the thing that stood out to me.
When Spider-Man's flying through the city, I love the choir. I love how like ethereal and like floaty it sounds, and I think it's like such a great use of it there.
It really does. I think that's the imagery. It's just it's like what's that the train effect, the Doppler, right? Where it goes.
Oh yeah, the sound.
You know what that is? Well, that's the pitch of where it's supposed to go down and then come back up, and that's what you're hearing. And like it's coming through. That's why probably the pitch would descend there. I don't know if you know about that. I don't know if you know anything. I'm putting this all together, by the way. This is kind of a BS moment for me, but like if you kind of take just the logic of sound, when the train goes by, it's gonna go, or a car, So
that was a really good impression.
I can understand why that chorus would go, and it's kind of him building up momentum. I see his mind working that way, if that's how he did it.
He builds momentum. He builds momentum in so many different ways than like other like if you look at like John Williams, the way he builds momentum in his scores, Danny Elfman builds momentum in very different ways, and I think he does it in a way of like building sound. I don't know if I'm going to make sense because I know nothing about music, but hear me out.
But like I said,
builds
sound all for the regular audience. You think everybody knows about music? No, they're just there. They know what music does to them. It's supposed to connect to them. Whatever the musician is doing to communicate to anybody and how they're reacting, what they're thinking about it, they won. They're already the fact that you're thinking about it is making the composer already a winner, if that makes sense. And what their job is supposed to be doing. Yeah.
I mean, like this is not our favorite Danny Elfman score by far, but it still does a great job at what it's supposed to be doing. It's not like the music is the fault of this movie at all. If anything, it's a high point of this movie. And it helps the movie in so many ways.
Yeah. I think for me, it was a little more subconscious. I didn't think about it as much. I remember it being good. And just because I was more focused in on the characters and Spider-Man and the whole imagery of him flying around and those, that's where it stands out for me, this whole movie. They did a good job at that. It was the first time we saw it. You know
what we haven't talked about yet? We haven't talked about Green Goblin at all.
Well, yeah, I think we saved the best for last. I think he's the best part of this movie.
Oh, well, I mean, because William Defoe is like a god amongst men.
Next to some other characters. And don't forget, we also have that cameo I have to mention to you.
Okay, we'll save it.
We'll save that, okay? I haven't forgotten about it.
I mean, no one will ever be as good as William Defoe is as Green Goblin because he just does such a great job of being both sides of that coin, that Jekyll and Hyde. He just does it so well. Him talking to himself is like a masterclass.
Wait, do I have something here? Let's see. I don't know. Pretend this is it. It's like when he has the newspaper in the mirror, like. I love that. And he's like, it was such a weird kind of shot, but I like when they do the cheesy, like going back and forth, the two minds. That makes it more fun. Yeah.
Great use of a mirror. So cool. Such a cool shot.
Yeah. I love when they put that thing on him and he's in the experiment tank when he's about to go under for the performance enhancers, and that thing touches his chest and he's like, oh, cold. I feel like that was him ad-libbing. It's so funny.
For sure. Like that was definitely not. I mean, it could have been scripted. Knowing Sam Raimi, maybe they were like,
I was just watching it. I'm like, I always think that was funny to me. Oh, cold.
I do.
Was he really saying that?
That scene. I love that everything in that scene is green. If you like keep looking at details, it's like that's green. If you look at the computer screen, it's all green. It's like, wow, there's so much green in this scene. It just keeps adding on top of each other.
I think it's called the Green Goblin.
Don't give any of these movie studios ideas to make a Green Goblin movie. They'll ruin it.
Don't worry. It's done with. They have William Defoe, who's scarier without the mask on. All right.
I mean, imagine if multiverse rumors for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Rumors William Defoe was on set, blah, blah, blah.
Let's not theorize anymore after this last show we just watched.
I know, after WandaVision, no more theories.
Just
but
keep your mouths shut, people, and enjoy whatever they give us. I learned my lesson. I too bought into it because, like I said, if I did not just come off of a show that just gave us the biggest, craziest thing we'd ever seen in history of movie and TV shows, and mostly movie. It's really a movie, at this point, just long form of a movie. The fact that we get that kind of surprise. I love surprises. Mm-hmm. Surprise me, come on. And they didn't do it. They were just like, yeah, that's it. It's good, right? I'm like, okay, all right, okay. Just like, it was kind of like a bad year of Christmas. It was like, all right, I'm just getting this. Don't expect any big presents. They're nice. Okay. I was just like, it's kind of like you make all these crazy lists, and what if you actually get one of those things? I was just like, nah, I just put it there for fun. But then when you really get that thing, you're like, oh my God. And I was like, that's what happened to me in Mandalorian. I was just like, no, you did. It's like Jon Favreau got a big Christmas bonus and he gave it to us all. So anyway, I wanted to talk about that. But anyways, he crushes it, William Defoe, and he's in crazy shape.
I know he's not a young guy, and he wasn't young when this movie was made. And he looked pretty good.
Yeah, he looked like that before the movie was made. Put it that way. He always looks like that. Whereas Toby, somehow I thought he was fake in the movie, and apparently he worked out that entire movie. And that's really him. Did you know that? Mm-hmm. Oh, you knew that?
Wait, what? The fact that what's all him?
That he's ripped in this movie? Toby
Is
Maguire?
he?
Oh, yeah.
How can you even tell?
That's him. That's all really.
Like under the suit?
He worked out 5 months straight. So that scene where he goes to bed sick because he just got bit by the spider.
Oh, yeah.
And he's scrawny and he wakes up. I always thought that was fake, some kind of computer animation, something they did there, or they superimposed him on another person. That is all 100% Toby Maguire. Crazy.
Good for him.
Yeah, he said, I ate a lot of tofu. That's all he says.
Is that true? I mean, there's a lot of protein in tofu, so
I think it's in behind the scenes on the DVD or whatever. Oh, so that's what I wanted to tell you. So I was watching this today on DVD, and I'm like, oh, because it's been a while. Okay. I'm like, oh, wait. Remember the discs had full screen or widescreen?
Yes.
They give you 2 discs, full screen or widescreen. This movie you bought, I have the full screen, but you had to buy widescreen.
The widescreen.
So I'm watching it on full screen. It's a little smushed on my widescreen TV, which is fine. I don't complain too much. But I was just like,
it's weird because
I never thought this would come back to bite me.
Yeah, I remember at one point us being disappointed if we accidentally bought the widescreen and try to watch it on our not widescreen TV.
We only had the TVs that had only full screen size.
It was a square
ratio, and I'm like, we'll never need a widescreen. We hated looking small on those TV screens. So years later, we got finally a widescreen TV.
I recently found my VHS of Spider-Man. And it has the slip cover.
So that's how you watched it?
No, that's not how I watched it. No. I don't have a VHS player.
Okay. So, I'm saying, he crushes it. But who else is the MVP of this movie?
Who else is Bonesaw?
Well,
Macho Man Randy Savage.
J.K. Simmons is the absolute other person who crushes it. But to me, same thing. Expectations of him. He's hysterical in this movie, and he's amazing as J. Jonah. But
he does that.
I remember the cartoon where there's a guy just going, Parker. That's about all he says. And I'm thinking, like, why is his head a little bit skinnier than the guy from the cartoon? Because that's like me, the nerd. Like, I remember him like, I don't think they got the right guy. I mean, he looks kind of like him. I guess that's his haircut, right? I don't know. They could have got someone that looked a little bit more like the cartoon, right? In my head. And then like Eddie, or not Eddie. They mentioned Eddie.
They do.
Eddie Brock. Yes. Yeah.
I heard that and I was
Um,
like, They also
yeah, it's a
mentioned
nice one.
who
Doctor
plays
Strange, I believe, or that's in the second one. Sorry, that's the second one they meant. They do mention Doctor Strange because it's like what should we call this guy for Doctor Octopus? He's like, how about Doctor Strange?
Oh yeah.
And
There
the
are a
irony
lot
is
of
that
other
he's doing Doctor Strange.
comic book references.
Yeah,
Like he does up and away
up
web.
and away, Shazam. Yeah,
Yeah, Spider-Man reference.
and
Superman
then Tally
reference.
Ho. Is that another guy? No,
I don't know.
probably.
I don't know that one. But
So can I just tell you this? So the reason why this movie changed my life, I forget the artist's name, but when he starts sketching Spider-Man concepts in this movie, I lost my mind. Like I've always loved to draw. And if I thought for a second that they would show him drawing and the fact that he's like an amazing artist, they actually talked about this. I saw something about this because I follow the artist who actually is drawing. Because that is one of my favorite art pieces I've ever seen in my life. That Spider-Man drawing is my favorite thing I've ever seen. Both of them. The one he actually finishes with the coloring, and then there's the other one he sees when he opens up the briefcase with his first costume. You see like the that version of him. I love that. I love that look of Spider-Man. To me, it's just personal favorite of mine. And like I drew Spider-Man every single day in whatever grade I was in, just like in the backseat of my classrooms at lunch tables, just drawing and trying to recopy whatever I saw in that movie. I didn't come very close. I got to find them and show them to you. They're so funny, but I would draw it for my friends. All my friends to this day still have some version of that Spider-Man because I would give them to them. Some old friends of mine say that I was still hanging in my room somewhere. So, but like, yeah, so I have a big love for that scene in particular, and just to see him. But what I was saying was that like the fact that he was that good at drawing, they said, well, he's kind of like a nerd, but he's like a science nerd, and maybe that's just like his raw talent, that he's just like a really good drawer too.
I mean,
and they discussed that.
I never understood that comment. Like maybe he's just a good drawer. Like I didn't know you had to look at someone and be like, you could be a nerd but not a good drawer. Like what?
No, I mean like the fact that like he has like no real talent except for his brain. Like he's just like, he's just a really good science, person. Like that's his talent, not like art. Like not saying he's not, but like he is a photographer. That's some art, Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like those comments are kind of silly. Like he could be a good drawer. Anyone can be a good drawer.
Yeah, no, but like they discussed that. They didn't think like it didn't make sense. Like why would he know how to draw this well? Like he's like that's like comic book like crazy what he's drawing in the book in the movie. Like most people draw like stick figures is my point. And in this movie he's drawing like really awesome like comic poses and stuff. And for me, as someone who tries to study comic book poses, you're much better at it than I am, but like I still to this day can't draw that well. And I've tried studying it all. He nails it like like one shot. And I'm just like, man, he's good at everything. No. So I was just like, I didn't care. No, my point is that like it's just so cool to see somebody drawing one of my favorite characters in the movie, and he's just like gonna make that drawing, but look nothing like that once he goes to fight. I was like, but don't worry, he'll make a much cooler suit. By the way, I love this suit in this movie. I don't care. Yeah,
it's really great. I love that sweatshirt with the Spider-Man spray painted on though. Like when he goes to the wrestling match, I love that sweatshirt with like the spray painted spider on it. It's just so funny.
But like this is look how sexy that is. Come on,
it is a nice suit.
For the time, I remember just being blown away by that suit. I'm like, that suit looks so cool. I don't care. It's not practical that he can make it. And then the second one came out. It's just like not the same. They did some fast changes on that.
Like in the second one.
Yeah. Oh, that's something I want to point out. So I'm sorry, I'm kind of building off of that, but did you want to mention anything about the special effects in this movie?
I think they're pretty good for the time.
I love them. Like, but there's
none that I really, other than, so the only special effect I don't like is when they're at the what is that, like the World
Thanksgiving
Fair
parade. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Thanksgiving parade. Oh, it's like Thanksgiving Day parade, or it's
No,
like
it's not.
No,
It's
it's
like
a
a
festival. I'm sorry, you're right.
cultural
It's not-
festival day
Thank
or
you.
something.
Yeah.
He
I
jumps
think
on the
to me it looks like it,
balloons.
and he's jumping on the balloons.
It looks
I've
so
heard
bizarre.
people say he looks pretty bad there. I don't
Yeah.
find it as bad. I think he looks atrocious in Spider-Man 2. Like, it's so bad for me in Spider-Man 2. There's some really horrible CG in that movie. I don't know, is the color red they chose? Red usually doesn't pop up well in CG. They ask anybody. Red's a tough color to do, and the fact that he's all red is tough to do, and they got away with it in this movie in certain scenes. My favorite CG moment in this movie, not the very beginning of it, but while he's flying, trying to catch Uncle Ben's killer. He's flying through the streets. Some of that CG, I think, holds up to this day. And it's all CG. I don't think any of it's practical or just green screen. I think it's all really well done CG. In my opinion, I really love it. I even like that swinging scene at the very end of the movie that they close out with, the I Am Spider-Man swing scene, which is also in the commercial, but whatever. It looks awesome.
Yeah, but like the voiceover is not in the commercial, and like that's the important part because it really puts a closure to the movie and like brings it full circle from that moment with Uncle Ben when he tries to catch the killer, and now he like understands his purpose and his power and like what he wants to do. So
yeah,
you could see him swinging, but like it's that message.
I love the CG in this movie, so I'm just saying. I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody who says it's atrocious. It's nothing personal.
I think it's great
really
too.
Like it. Okay, cool. So
yeah, I'm right there with you.
Love this.
Before
I'm gonna go back. I rewind it. There's a scene where he takes this like jump in the air. It's like and let's go, and he swings. I'm like, it's perfect. It's literally perfect.
He screams.
I just love it. I'm very passionate about that. Yeah, it's not even that. It's just like he's swinging in that dark, like lit so well. Him just swinging with that red made suit. It's so cool. Okay, sorry. Love it. Just love it.
Before you talk about your cameo, I just want to talk about one quick thing.
Okay.
So I brought up Sam Raimi and Danny Elfman's relationship a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't know about this too.
Because they and this I was surprised when I heard that Danny Elfman was going to score Multiverse Madness because they had a falling out during the second Spider-Man movie. Danny Elfman didn't score the third Spider-Man movie because during the second one, apparently Sam Raimi was extremely... I don't know if it was him specifically, but what?
Because he knew it was trash.
I mean, I like the second one because Doc Ock is great, but we'll discuss that another time.
Oh, no, I'm in the third one.
The third one's not good. But apparently it was just too hard to work with Sam on the second movie.
I mean, it's sad for us as fans to like know that, you know.
Yeah, and I think there was another composer brought on for the second movie. So there's another composer on the first movie too, but I guess that wasn't a problem. But there's another composer on the second movie. Danny Elfman decided he was never going to work with Sam Raimi again. He said he would never work with him ever, ever, ever again. But then I found out he was going to score Multiverse of Madness, which Sam Raimi is directing for Disney and Marvel Studios, which is interesting. I don't know if it's true though. It was a rumor. I don't think it was confirmed.
Yes,
but that's interesting. It'll be interesting.
There'll probably be some kind of maybe bittersweetness to that if it actually happens. But who knows? That happens all the time. People say they're not going to work again together.
Yeah.
Most times they don't, but sometimes they do. You know, sometimes people can reconcile. What was the big one? I think it was Megan Fox and Michael Bay. I think was the big one, right? Wasn't she like fired and then they didn't? I don't think they worked together, but they kind of came back because that was like such a big thing that like, you know, she had a falling out with that guy. Not that anyone cares. I'm just saying that was one of the stories that came to mind. But then they reconciled years later. Some people do that, you know, like anybody else. We're all people.
I guess so.
And,
yeah, it's true.
You know, you try to work together to make greatness, and sometimes it's hard to be friends, and it's show business. So
I can't wait to see what Sam Raimi does with this MCU movie because it's a huge, gigantic budget. Probably he probably had some vision for it. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. If there's anyone who knows horror, it's him. So
yeah,
I hope we get this creepy
way
movie.
Different than any movie we've gotten from any of those movies. It's gonna be the first one because he hasn't done anything since Spider-Man 3, right? Of comic books,
Oh yeah, like a comic booky movie.
Yeah.
Very true.
So it's interesting to see what he must have something up his sleeve.
Yeah. I
Some
think they
magic
just
up his sleeve.
I think they just finished filming, so hopefully we'll get that next
That's
year
good news.
sometime. Yeah. A little ray of light. Okay, so your cameo.
Yeah. Yes, but before I do that, also I just want to say this movie has great humor though. It's funny. I love the humor in this movie. It's cheesy, but it makes me laugh. I was laughing just a minute ago watching it. And I was just like, this movie's so funny. And some of the lines are great. Especially Peter in the beginning with Harry, and that's so cool. Like that it's cheesy, but it works, and I love that scene where he goes up to Mary Jane and he just goes like, some spiders change color to blend into their environment. And she's like, oh really? And he's like, yeah, it's a defense mechanism. And he tells her, and then you see Toby in the back like, it's so funny. Really well. Little moments like that. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's and I think I mentioned, like, I just love the trailers. The trailers are amazing in this movie. I remember being so hyped to go see it. I remember seeing like they didn't really show the goblin. I just remember seeing him jumping on the glider and that parade scene, and then they never showed him. So I was nervous, like, what does he look like? Remember, did you feel the same?
I honestly don't remember the trailers at all.
Okay, yeah. Well, I went to the movies a lot with my grandmother, so I think that trailer was up a lot. Whatever I was seeing right before that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So cameo time.
All right.
Ready? It's not a huge thing, but like I'm like, I think I know that part. I'm like, yeah. All right. So the scene is during the bone saw scene.
Okay.
Okay. And there's somebody sitting at a table when he first walks in. I'll give you that hint. Right before he fights, he walks in and he's like, no, sign me up. Any idea?
No.
So the woman who's sitting at the table her name is Octavia Spencer, I believe.
She's from The Help. Yes. You're right. You know what? And when I watched it, I was like, oh, that's Octavia Spencer.
So you did know that. You just didn't put it together. Okay.
I didn't remember it though, because it's like so brief.
I didn't know it. I mean, I've seen that lady probably in a bunch of other things around that time. Maybe she had small parts like that.
Mm-hmm.
She's not a big part, so it's not, And then to see her probably down the road in a bigger movie where she's getting praise. I didn't see any of those movies, by the way. I feel bad. I'm sorry. I'm sure she's a great actress, but I never saw it. I never saw those movies. I just know her as the actress. So just to know, like, oh, I know that actress now. She's famous and she's made it. She's worked her way up since this movie. It's almost 20 years old. So I was like, wow, she's been around a while. So
yeah, wow. I honestly didn't know. And I did see her when I watched it and I forgot. But yeah. Little cameo.
Okay. So we were supposed to play a game. Are we going to start that? Are we ready?
Yes. Let's play our we're going to do a little quotes trivia. We're going to try to stump each other with quotes. You already said one of mine, so I'm already losing.
All right, but that's okay. I said it's going to be hard to stump me. I'm very good at this game.
I know.
Like I said, I can't memorize a lot of words and songs. Quotes are a little different because I can kind of hear them in my head for a minute. But like words, in songs they come and go. I can't remember words and songs. I don't know. Brain doesn't work that way.
All right. Do you want to? You can go first since you already guessed one of mine.
All right. I'll make this one easy.
Okay.
I'll make this one very easy. It goes like, you're like a brother to him. So that makes you family. I've been working on that. So that's not really what he says.
It was pretty good. I mean, that was Norman. Yeah. He says it at their graduation, right?
Yeah. I like his other one where he goes like, I'm something of a scientist myself or something like that.
All right. So here's my first one. Oh,
Okay,
well, the
go.
first one you guessed, you already said my first one was some spiders
All
change
right,
their
but say it
colors
again
to
because
blend.
it's fun. I want to see your impersonation. Go all out. Let's see how you do.
No.
Ah,
Here,
come
okay,
on.
here's my real
This
real
one.
quote. Bit of a slob, isn't
I'm
he?
ready.
I said it.
We got to do it like bit of a slob, isn't he?
I'm not a good actress.
Oh, it's Norm. Sorry.
It is.
You got to get the. Oh, when he's coming up at the elevator. Oh, he's turning back into Norman somehow. It's fun to play Jekyll and Hyde. This character. I can't do a good Willem, but I just love when he just goes, I'm something of a scientist myself. The goblin do it. I didn't mean to do it.
Oh, so good.
Don't let him
So
take
good.
it. It's over the top acting. So good. All right. Sorry. Okay. So that was your quote. My turn.
Yes, go.
All right. This one's probably easy too, but let's do I had it a minute ago. How's it go? How about this one? Okay. We need to take it all back to formula.
Oh, it's that scientist guy, but he doesn't have a name.
Do you know his name? I know it because I just watched it. So
Oh my God, what's his name?
his
Tell
name
me.
is Dr. Crumb. Harry Crumb.
Dr. Crumb.
Dr. Crumb. Dr.
The
Crumb is dead.
formula.
What are you talking about? I've been sleeping on my floor for all this scene. Harry, you've been sleeping here on the floor the whole night? Probably not good for your back, Dad.
He's just like so concerned about his father, and his father's just like, I don't like you, Harry. Like,
After they're after your trust funds. They're all beautiful. Talk about a goblin. Everyone heard that creep, that goblin. Anyways, okay, so your quote. Sorry.
Okay, here's my last one.
I can keep going. This movie, I know them all. It's hard to stop.
I know
me.
you're probably gonna know this one too.
Go.
I trust my barber.
It's the Joe Jonesy brothers. Okay, J. Jonah Jameson.
It is. It's
The
probably my
JJ.
favor's quote in the movie.
I trust
I
my
just
barber.
love it.
Yeah, I remember my dad laughing pretty hard during that. Any of his lines made my dad laugh. He's like, he's funny. I like him. It's like he's not even supposed to be that funny, but he is in this movie. I remember Stanley going, he's actually better than I ever thought about making him out to be. He does it better than I actually described him in the comics. And that's my favorite story of Stanley, how it got to when he created Spider-Man. He goes like this.
Mhm.
I had a list of different names, and it was Insect Man, Fly Man, and then finally Spider-Man. And I thought, wow, that's something dark and dangerous and exciting. And I thought, Spider-Man, that's something great for everybody. All right, that's my Stanley.
That's funny. Can you say Excelsior?
Excelsior! I don't know. I can't do that one.
The end wasn't as good as the rest of it.
I can't. I haven't heard him do it enough times, but I love it. He's in Mallrats. He's talking to Jason Lee, and he's like, yeah, I got whatever, buddy. He's like, got all the girls and all the chicks. And it turns out he had a whole speech prepared that he paid him up. All right. Yeah, I love Stanley. And he is in this movie. Remember, he saves somebody too. Stanley. He's in this movie. He's got a cameo. That was like the whole cameo started for, I think it was this movie.
He wasn't
I don't
in
think he was
X-Men,
in
right?
X-Men. No, he
No.
wasn't. He started this
He wasn't
one.
in Daredevil
was
either.
his first cameo.
Hmm.
He might have been. I don't know. I agree with you. I don't remember because I don't remember that movie that much. I've seen it and I was like, it had potential, but it didn't work for me. What was the other one? The Hulk. That's what I was thinking he was in.
Oh.
He like walks out of the door with Lou Ferrigno or something.
I don't remember that movie at all.
Yeah.
Either of them.
I begged my
Either of
parents to
them.
go see it. I felt so bad after. I was like, it's gonna be so cool, Mom. And you jumping, leaping. It's like CG people again. I don't know. I didn't say any of that, but something like that. All right, sorry. So my last quote.
Go ahead.
Number 3. Okay, ready? Deliver us from evil.
Oh. Aunt May.
Finish it.
Finish it!
Finish it.
From
From evil. Those eyes. Those yellow eyes. Back when Aunt May was actually like old.
Yeah.
She's great. She's great as Aunt May. I liked her as Aunt May. And I like Uncle Ben too. Uncle Ben was great.
Yeah, I like an older Aunt May. Just fits my idea of what Aunt May.
It's just more how I said, how we saw it in the comics and on the TV show. It just kind of, I think, resonates a little bit better with us having that picture of her. And then Marissa Tomei comes around the corner. I'm just like, ah? And I'm like, but I love Marissa Tomei, so it's just like, oh. Yeah. I know, but I do love Marissa. I'm sorry, and everybody knows it too. Trust me.
Everybody
like George
knows.
Costanza.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's gonna be it for us tonight, right, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, with great power comes great responsibility. That's what I take away from this. Yeah, I love the movie. I could see why it doesn't work for some people who are big, especially diehard Spider-Man fans. Oh, I wanted to mention how the ending of this movie was spoiled to me by somebody we mutually know. Take a few guesses who, because he came back after the weekend. We had social studies together, and he goes, "He doesn't get the girl." And I was like, "What? I haven't seen it yet." He thought I did, I think. I don't know, or he had to tell me that it was bothering him so bad, or her, I don't know, whoever it was. But I was just like,
I know who you're talking about.
I know. But I was like, man, I haven't seen it yet. And it was like, so I knew that.
Well, that's a huge spoiler that he doesn't get the girl.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I not that I cared. I mean, like, he'll get her eventually in the sequel or something. But I just remember that scene coming, and I was just like, I think my brother was also like, huh? And then, the whole setup with like Spider-Man has to pay. And it's like, I swear my father's grave, Spider-Man has to pay. And it's just like, he's like, sequel, like you can hear it in his head.
Here comes Harry.
Yeah. But like, in the fact that like, he's like, I always would be your friend. And I'm like, there it is. I'm like, okay, here we go. This is what is happening. But I had that kind of spoiled to me. And it's like, I remember seeing it the second time, and there was a girl with maybe her boyfriend in like the front row. And it was, we were in a packed theater. We saw it at night with another friend wanted to see it. So this is my second viewing. And I remember him saying that, like, saying, I'll always just be your friend, nothing more than that. And the girl goes like, what? She like jumped out of her seat, like, come on, like so upset. Like, are you kidding me? It was just like watching, like, it was like watching a soap opera for her. It was so funny. She's like, I think she was like, I remember like a vision of like her with her boyfriend, just like, this is how it's supposed to be. Yeah,
but like, again, I hate to talk about the Spider-Man TV show again, but like, he didn't. It's not like
really
him and Mary Jane.
Yeah,
like never really had her. They just had this like on again, off again weird thing that they had.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a problem with that as much.
Yeah, I didn't either. I thought it was appropriate for what they were trying to do, was set up the whole franchise of, we're gonna eventually get to that, and he knows the responsibility of being Spider-Man now.
Yeah, it's true.
So anyways, I enjoyed this one. I think it's something that most people should go back and watch. It may not, I don't know, it may not hold up date. Is it outdated here and there? But
I think what makes
I
it
don't know. I
outdated
feel
is
like
that there's been
it has a lot
several.
of fun that we kind of miss in movies too. Now
Yeah.
we miss the joy in movies. Everything has to be so joyless and heartless. And I'm like, this movie has all those things. At least they try. You know.
Yeah. It's
So
silly.
the action's really well done. So I love it for that too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish watching it after we're done here. So can't wait.
Well, I won't hold you anymore. Go watch your movie. It's been a fun
Okay.
episode.
So we have to say
With great
what
power
do we
comes
always
great
say at the end of our
responsibility. Oh,
we can say
well,
that. I was gonna say
well, we're signing off. Your friends in time.
and you know who I am, right?
Who are you?
Your friendly neighborhood Spiderman. Swing off.
Bye.
You know who I am. Bye.